When did we start caring more about our numbers than the moments inside the game? Arcades tracked score because they simply needed a way to decide who lasted longer. High scores were proof of survival. They were public, but they were limited. Modern games do something different. They track us. Surely there are cozy games and RPGs that simply let us enjoy the moment, but much of the industry is tracking how we play. Accuracy percentages, reaction time, damage per second, gear efficiency, time played, win rates, completion percentage, achievement scores, KD ratios, MMRs, engagement streaks. It's no longer just a scoreboard at the end of a match, it's a data archive of your entire history of the game. Companies use this information to evaluate immersion and retention. It feeds matchmaking systems. It shapes balance patches. Some titles even track behavioral patterns. In Arc Raiders, aggression is monitored to help sort players into appropriate lobbies. We also use this data ourselves. We check our stat pages, we track improvement over weeks or months, we measure how much we've invested. The number becomes shorthand for our relationship with the game. This shift connects to something happening beyond gaming. Sociologists describe the rise of digital self-tracking as a way people monitor and optimize their lives. They separate it into two forms: private self-tracking, focused on personal awareness, and communal self-tracking, where people share their data within communities. Gaming contains both. YouTube uploads of world record runs, no-hit challenges, guilds organized around performance metrics, leaderboards archived permanently online. We didn't just start tracking performance, we started sharing it. And beneath that sits a psychological foundation. In 1954, Leon Festinger introduced social comparison theory, arguing that individuals assess their abilities by comparing themselves to others. We rarely evaluate in isolation. We evaluate relative to peers. Every post-match leaderboard in Call of Duty, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals activates that instinct. Every Monster Hunter clear time uploaded to YouTube activates it again. Every race to complete a zombie's Easter egg triggers the same comparison loop. If games always had scores, why does modern tracking feel different? The answer may not be the existence of numbers, it may be the permanence of them, and permanence changes everything. Once performance becomes visible, it becomes comparative. Modern matchmaking systems rely on invisible ratings like ELO and MMR. ELO began as a chess algorithm, a probability model predicting outcomes in one-on-one matches. MMR expanded that into team-based environments, tracking contribution across many games. In League of Legends, hidden MMR influences the rank tier you eventually see. Then there's skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty. In Call of Duty Matchmaking Intel White Paper number 2, Activision describes a North American study conducted on Modern Warfare 3. A test group experienced loosened skill consideration in matchmaking. The result? Players in wider skill gap matches were more likely to quit mid-game and were less likely to return to the game later. Players in balanced matches had stronger retention. Matchmaking influenced player behavior directly. The system wasn't only sorting by skill, it was stabilizing engagement. Then there are the stats we obsess over. KD ratios, win percentages, rank tiers, public stat pages. There's even an ongoing debate in gaming communities: is a 3-1 KD better than a 25-10? The first holds a higher ratio, the second contributed to more total eliminations. Entire Reddit threads exist arguing which metric truly reflects value. Numbers invite interpretation. Interpretation invites comparison. Psychology distinguishes between upward and downward comparison. Upward comparison involves measuring ourselves against people who perform better. It can drive motivation and self-improvement, but it can also lower self-esteem and increase stress. Downward comparison measures against those performing worse. It can boost confidence and provide comfort, though it may reduce urgency. Every leaderboard activates one of those directions. Esports magnifies it further. Another study in the International Journey of Esports found elite players report more performance-related stressors, while sub-elite players report more teammate-related stressors. Technical issues, antisocial behavior, life balance, and critical moment pressure all compound the experience. Performance data doesn't just measure skill, it produces pressure. When performance becomes visible and comparative, play becomes evaluative. You're no longer just experiencing the game, you're being measured inside it. And when measurement becomes constant, motivation shifts. Flow theory is described as a state where challenge and skill are balanced, creating deep immersion. It states optimal experiences occur when one's skills are adequate to cope with the challenges at hand, in a goal-directed, rule-bound action system that provides clear cues as to how one is performing. High challenge plus high skill creates flow. High challenge plus low skill creates anxiety. Low challenge plus high skill produces boredom. Modern games constantly adjust this balance. And because performance is measured, we start optimizing around it. I mentioned skill-based matchmaking in games earlier as a form of engagement and a means to retain players. Many will argue that this makes every match sweaty. SBMM is attempting to meet the goals of flow theory. Mastery motivation research describes an intrinsic drive to persist at challenging tasks. In games, that persistence becomes communal. Subreddits analyze builds, YouTube channels calculate DPS across gear, Discord servers debate optimal loadouts, patch notes are dissected to determine what the next meta will be. Each balance change reopens the optimization cycle. Flow becomes something engineered, and optimization culture emerges. If improvement can continue indefinitely, when does progress feel complete? Without an endpoint, performance becomes directional. It always points forward. There is always a higher tier, a cleaner run, a faster clear. When challenge and skill remain balanced, engagement continues. When balance tips, frustration or boredom follows. So developers tune, and players adjust, and the cycle continues, which leads to something larger because performance no longer stays private. There was a time when stats existed inside your living room. That's changed. Websites began cataloging raid clears in World of Warcraft, public stat pages ranked global players, highlight reels showcased high KD games, then came streaming. In 2014, Twitch reportedly had around 45 million unique viewers per month, and more viewers than HBO Go. Amazon then acquired the platform for approximately 970 million. Today, Twitch boasts 7.3 million channels and 921.2 million viewers in 2025. Streaming has turned gameplay into performance art. There's a term called parasocial interaction, the psychological relationship viewers form with media personalities, which has deepened this impact. Audiences began to feel familiarity with streamers despite limited direct interaction. Then comes impression management theory, the process of influencing how others perceive you by controlling information in social interactions. In gaming, this plays out constantly. Stats become branding, rank becomes credibility, views become social proof. Online identity reconstruction adds another layer. A player can build a persona entirely around performance metrics. Authority forms through visible competence. When stats become permanent and public, reputation forms around them. Performance stops being a moment. It becomes identity, which brings us to the final shift. Max Prestige, Champion Rank, Top 250, World First. These titles become shorthand for who someone is. Win rates become reputation, build optimization becomes authority, rank becomes identity. Instead of losing progress in a story, players lose progress in standings. In competitive ladders, staying in the top 250 becomes a daily commitment. This isn't just obligation, it's structural self-definition. All the theories we've discussed converge here. Social comparison explains why we measure against others. Self-determination theory explains how motivation shifts. Flow theory explains how engagement sustains itself. Optimization culture explains why improvement never feels finished. Streaming culture explains why identity becomes public. So we return to the opening question. When did we start caring more about our numbers than moments? Maybe the shift happened gradually. Maybe it wasn't a replacement of joy. Maybe it was an expansion of what joy meant. Achievement feels tangible. Progress feels measurable. Identity feels stable when it's quantifiable. But there's still something unresolved. When improvement has no ceiling, what does enough look like? When identity is numeric, what happens to memory? When performance becomes the lens through which we see ourselves, where does play fit inside of it? And maybe that's the real tension. Games still offer worlds to explore. The question is whether we're exploring them or optimizing them.